Hey there, EB here for our weekly update. Sorry, I'm about 3 minutes late. I was just checking on the news and getting together my thoughts. I think this is going to be one amazing election. First, I want to talk about the decision that President Biden made to exit the race. Obviously, within the last 10 days, we've seen two things in our lifetime that we probably haven't seen before. Some of us did. I remember when Reagan was shot by John Hinckley, but within the past 10 days, former President Trump had an assassination attempt against him. And then, obviously, last Sunday, President Biden made the decision that he was going to not seek the second term of the presidency, even though he won the primary and was the Democrats' candidate going into the Democratic convention next month in August. Um, Biden had to get out of the race. I don't think you can run for president based on what you've done the previous 3 years and say, well, that's why you're going to elect me for the next 4 years. That is the case if there's no concern about your physical capability of finishing out your term, or whether there's questions regarding your mental acuity and cognitive abilities. And certainly there has been a significant slippage by President Biden that I've seen just in the little amount of time that he's been on TV, not only in the debate, but you could physically watch somebody and see that they're really struggling. As I've said, there's 85-year-old people, and he's only 81, but there's 85-year-old people that are mentally sharp, physically sharp. The presidency of the United States is one of the most rigorous jobs that anybody can ever have, regardless of your age. And I think that it took a large toll on him. All you have to do is look at Obama when he came in office. He had dark hair. When he left, he had gray hair. I think it's almost like a dog year job. 4 years is 28 years. It's for every year, it's 7 years of your life. So I think that we should take a moment just to reflect on the fact that it does appear that he put country first over himself. And that's a rarity today amongst our leaders, even if it was really at the butt end of a rifle. Clearly, Nancy Pelosi wanted him out. The fact that Hakeem Jeffries, the majority leader of the House, and minority leader, excuse me, of the House, and Chuck Schumer, the majority leader of the Senate, were silent about endorsing Biden's candidacy to stay in the race. I think that they wanted him out. I think the Clintons wanted him out. Clearly, Obama wanted him out. And I think the polling data was something that was overwhelming, that Biden had to admit that it would have been difficult for him to reverse what had taken place in the battleground states of North Carolina, Wisconsin, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Virginia. Those are really where the states where the election is going to come down. And he was polling horribly there. But the man did give service to his country. Hey, Corey, thanks, EB for VP. Good afternoon. The man did give service to his country, which should be applauded. Certainly, he was in the Senate for so many years, on head of the Judiciary Committee, and did a lot of good on foreign relations. Whether you support him or not, the man did serve his country in the presidency, and history will have to judge his presidency. I tend to think that there was some good done. The bipartisan infrastructure bill, the CHIPS bill. There was some election reform. There was some lowering the prescription drug care for diabetics, some Veterans Administration legislation, as well as some red flag gun law. So some significant bipartisan um, legislation was done. The stock market's at an all-time high. The unemployment's low. Yes, we have very serious inflation that I think is just crippling the middle class, and we have to figure that out. But So now we walk into Kamala Harris, and she was given the endorsement by President Biden, who um, decided that she was the one that should get it. Seems like all the Democratic delegates have fallen in line. Um, she is certainly battle tested in the sense that she went through a presidential campaign. She did not do well. She only polled less than 5% in 2020. But let's look at her background. She won 3 statewide races in California for the attorney general. She was a prosecutor in San Francisco before she was a attorney general for 7 years. She became a United States senator, won an election for that, and served from 2017 to 2020. She has a significant prosecutorial background to the point that it was a problem for her in the Democratic primary in 2020 because she led significant bail reform where she would not um, condone the giving of bail for violent criminals. And there was a lot in the minority communities who felt that she was too hard on the minority communities and not lessening the bail restrictions, which is a unique thing for a Democrat to be accused of being too much of a prosecutor. Um, I think that she did herself a disservice by, having a lot of high staff turnover when she was a VP in the early portion of 2020 to 2021. She accepted responsibility for some of the issues on the border. She was not a border czar, but she only went down there one time. She didn't do enough to bring the attention, the light to at least President Biden that something that should be done, and that makes her vulnerable. But where she's very strong is reproductive rights for women. Um, I think she's strong on gun issues. The reproductive rights are extremely important in this election to many, many people, me included. And I think she's going to do very well on that. She's raised over $140 million in 2.5 days of becoming a presidential candidate. I think she's going out there on a lot of different stages. Today, she was talking to a teachers union. She went to Wisconsin yesterday. I do believe that she should debate President Trump. And if he doesn't want to do it on ABC like he agreed to do it and said it has to be on Fox News, then she needs to go on Fox News. She needs to earn the nomination, even though it does appear to be given to her. She only has 105 days and a lot of ground to make up. Let's not kid ourselves. Yes, she's had a slight bump in the polls to bring the race to a mathematical toss up. But Trump has significant advantages in these battleground states, and it's not going to be easy for her. Um, but I think it really has knocked um, the Republicans for a loop because it's very difficult to start criticizing her. Remember, if there's an enthusiasm for her, the youth vote is going to come out, and that was a major concern for Biden. Now, the oldest person in the race is Trump, and he will be subjected to these age arguments and also his mental frailty, where he rambles on and sometimes he forgets names and all the things that they were throwing at Biden. Now they're going to throw against Trump, and it's going to be difficult to throw against her because she's 59 years old. So I do think she's going to get the youth vote. I do think the black vote is going to energize from the pulpits in the black churches. I think Clyburn's going to come out, and once Obama comes out, I think she's going to get the black vote, and I do think that she may make some significant inroads on the undecided suburban voters, especially the women. JD Vance is a selection that I don't think is going to help Trump with women. I don't think it's going to help him, certainly with those that are pro NATO and for Ukraine. He made a statement about women who don't have children or like cat people. Kamala Harris does not have children, although she is certainly uh, views Doug Imhoff, her husband's children, as her own, and they view her as a second mother. Jennifer Aniston came out today, and she was pretty pissed off about what J.D. Vance said. So It's going to be interesting. JD Vance only has served in the Senate for 18 months. Uh, he does have a good background of being in the Marines, although he was, I think, he was a journalist in the Marines. Um, Wrote the Hillbilly Elegy. He was successful and a hedge fund guy. Um, but he has significant flaws that I think is going to be difficult to attract the middle vote. So we shall see. I think we need to stop with the name calling. I think if Trump starts to uh, offend by calling her evil and dumb and different things and give her a nickname, cackling Kamala or something like that, I think that's going to backfire. I think, when he went after Corey Farina, um, in the 2016 election, called her ugly, um, calling Nikki Haley bird brain. I think when you do that, you're going to offend a significant amount of women and certainly a significant amount of men like me. I just don't think you should call women names. I just think it's not appropriate. And so I think that's going to be tough. I think they're going to have to find their footing on how they can um, criticize her without offending a whole swath of women. I think she should pick either Josh Shapiro, who's the governor of Pennsylvania, or Mark Kelly, the senator of Arizona, or Governor Roy Cooper, who is going out in North Carolina. Josh Shapiro would be a great pick. He's young. He's doing a great job. He's Jewish, which would bring all the Jews back into the Democratic Party that have seemed to have left, because there's a significant portion of the Democratic Party that is pro-Hamas and against Israel. I think bringing him back in would be, as a VP, would be a tremendous selection. Also, the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania is black, which would elevate a black to being the first black governor of Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is a battleground state. Mark Kelly would just a superior pick. He's married to Gabby Giffords, who is Jewish. She was the subject of an assassination attempt, and you know, um, he was an astronaut. He was a Navy pilot. I mean, he's got the right stuff. So he could do battle in a vice presidential debate against JD Vance. So, it's going to be very, very interesting as this race unfolds. Um, Governor Newsom of California just issued an executive order for the removal of all homeless encampments. Those are the tent cities where families and people are living under underpasses in the entire state of California, not just in the urban areas of San Francisco and LA. And so that's going to be a really, really interesting thing to see how it unfolds, whether it'll be challenged in the courts. But that's a huge, huge move by somebody who's considered to be a very liberal government. Um, Carol, I understand you want me to stick to crime and punishment. My politics, regardless of which side you're on, do not interest you. I understand, but it is a current event and it is something that we need to talk about. Um, I'm not saying that I am supporting Kamala Harris, but I do not support former President Trump. I do think there could have been better selections other than Kamala Harris, but that is what we're given. But I do believe that she will present a better challenge for the Democrats against former President Trump than President Biden would. The J.P. Miller interview that was done on News Nation, for those that aren't aware, J.P. Miller is a pastor of a church in North Myrtle Beach, and his wife, Mica Francis, is what everybody wants to call her instead of Michael Miller, allegedly committed suicide in a park in North Carolina. The interview that he gave was ill-advised. I can't believe his lawyers would let him give that interview. He appeared to be not credible in the interview. He said some incredible things, revealing about his wife that no husband, regardless if their wife took their own life, he talked about, her medication, how mentally ill she allegedly was, blamed her family for killing her, said some really crazy things about him being a superhero. Um, if you haven't seen that interview, go on YouTube. Ashley Banfield interviewed JP Miller. I think that was interesting. We certainly have the Olympics coming up. Big fan of the Olympics. Love Simone Biles and her story, the fact that she has come back and now it's at the top of her game after suffering some, some fear issues about the vault and the uneven bars in the 2020 Olympics. Um, I think that she is amazing. Certainly, Katie Ledecky's the best swimmer of all time. She's amazing to watch. So I'm interested in watching her and Caleb Dressler. Uh, love the USA basketball team, although I'm very worried. Even though they're 5-0 going into the Olympics, they against South Sudan, they were 43-point favorites, and they had to win by 2 points at the end of the game. And when your best player is 40-year-old LeBron James, I think you got a problem. So certainly international basketball has caught up to the NBA. 24% of the players, believe it or not, in the NBA are from international heritage. So the years and days of the United States just dominating basketball has ended. Um, I watched the Home Run Derby last week. I thought it was interesting. Really excited about young players, Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson. For the Orioles, Bobby Witt Jr., whose father played in the major leagues, he plays for the Royals. It was, I think, the most interesting home run derby I've seen in a while because it put them on the clock, gave them a certain number of bonus pitches. Um, Alex Bohm for the Phillies. I'm a Phillies fan did well. So that was interesting to see. When we're talking about the Olympics, we got some crazy sports in there now. Obviously, we have skateboarding as part of it, but I just found out that there's a trampoline competition now as well as breakdancing. So maybe we should get back to the core of some of the Olympic sports. Um, so that is what we have. Let me go down my list here. We were interested to see what happens with the doping scandal. A lot of the Chinese swimmers, divers, tested positive for drugs, and we're going to interested to see if they're able to compete in the Olympics. It's so difficult for the World Doping Agency to conduct these tests in a way that they stay ahead of the scientists who are putting these young athletes on performance enhancing drugs. So that's one thing that we have to look at. Going to our list of questions, um, somebody asked, as a retired bookkeeper for a school system, the audits that were required are detailed, and she wondered whether Jeannie Seckinger, who was the uh, controller for PMPD, should have to face any consequences or scrutiny for PMPD's money that was taken. I don't think she's done anything that would be worthy of certainly criminal investigation, but there should be some hard questions asked of the accounting system at that law firm, how Alex Murdaugh was able to take money out of escrow that when the money comes in from settlements that are supposed to be held in trust for clients. Certainly, there should be some questions, and if they haven't already done it, PMPD should have some different safeguards put in. Somebody asked, well, I would love to know your thoughts on the investigation and the assassination attempt, and it relates to the Secret Service. Uh, Without question, it was a major failure on the part of the Secret Service. Certainly, former President Trump, should not have almost had his life taken. Certainly not with a shot that was from 155 yards. I think that there wasn't enough Secret Service allocated to it, and whether he was getting the type of protection that he asked for and deserved needs to be looked into. But the testimony by the Secret Service Director Cheadle, the female who testified this week, was abhorrent. I thought she did a horrible job. She looked evasive and guilty, and I was happy to see that the oversight committee, both from a Democratic and a Republican standpoint, were equally offended by her testimony, and she had no choice but to resign. Um, I think she may have not answered questions because on the advice of her attorney, and she looked like she was dancing on the head of a needle. I don't think she needed to plead the fifth because I don't think it was anything criminal, but I don't think she was prepared properly to testify, and I don't think she was being candid in her testimony. Um, Do I think the race will win over the abortion debate? I think reproductive rights are going to be a significant issue in this election. The direction of the Supreme Court, things that are important to suburban voters, issues like gun control. I think immigration is going to be a major issue, which I think Kamala Harris is extremely vulnerable on. She will have some arguments that, you know, Langford, Senator Langford, is one of the most conservative members of the Congress, came up with a bipartisan bill that the Republicans decided not to sign as a result of former President Trump telling him, don't give Biden a win. She'll have some answers on it, but I think the Democrats are going to lose the immigration debate. So the question is, what's stronger? The immigration debate, um, Ukraine and the footprint that Putin wants to have in Europe, NATO, the Israeli Hamas conflict, or reproductive rights are all going to be major issues, I think, in the election. I already said that I think that Josh Shapiro and Mark Kelly are really the cream of the crop rising to the top of the VP candidates that she should select. And I think she's going to announce it prior to the convention. It's interesting. I think she was announced by President Biden on August 11th in 2020 as his VP candidate. So I would suspect that she's going to do that, within the next 8 days. So those are the issues. Let me look on the line here and see what we see. Yeah, I think that it was heartbreaking yesterday when Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu was speaking to Congress that there were a significant number of Democrats who boycotted hearing him speak to the joint session of Congress. I think that was wrong. I am pro-Israel. I think that Hamas cannot be trusted to govern the people of the Gaza. I think that they have shown that the money that they get doesn't go into the infrastructure or the education or the health and welfare of the citizens, but goes into building tunnels and enriching the Hamas leaders. And I don't think they're ever going to stop trying to harm Israel. So I was disappointed to see flags burning and monuments desecrated with the pro Hamas um, rhetoric. So I think that was beyond normal First Amendment protesting, and people should have been arrested. I think it was a disgrace. Um, Jeff Siebert said, yes, she's going to have to answer questions about the former mayor of San Francisco. I think his name was Willie something. I don't remember. Willie Brown. And that's how she got her start in politics. And he was married at the time. There's always been, uh, scuttlebutt that she had an affair with him. It is 30 years ago, but everything's relevant. If you're going to go back to Donald Trump on comments that he said in the 2000s, about women and grabbing them by what, then she is fair game and she's going to have to answer those questions. Um, Again, I don't think she did well in the primaries in 2020, but she's certainly a different candidate, and maybe she'll project herself better. Don't know. Um, I understand, Amanda, that you don't like her. You said the name calling doesn't bother you at all. It does bother me, and I think it does bother a significant number of people. I just think that you can have disagreement and discourse without giving people humiliating nicknames. I do think that I think the women today are vigilant in protecting somebody being denigrated simply because they're a woman. I think that Hillary Clinton, had a lot of things coming to her in 2016. I did not vote for her, but I think the women were offended by the way she was denigrated, and I don't think they're going to let that happen during this election. But I may be wrong. Casey Odell says, this is a friendly reminder that it's a weekly news update and part of a news reach that does include politics. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate that. Yes, it's very tough to talk about politics without offending somebody, and I'm trying to do it in a way just to educate. But I certainly understand everybody's concern. Um, Look, we have a tough political system today. It is full contact. Put your chin strap on. It's for the throat. I've never seen our country more polarized. Um, I keep myself in the middle, and I find myself it's a little lonely in the middle. But by the same token, I certainly respect everybody's belief. I can safely say that I don't think the Democrats have done a good job at all with the border. I think they're highly vulnerable on it. But by the same token, I think the Republicans really blew an issue with the reproductive rights and making that a cornerstone of their agenda. So we shall see. I don't think that our country will go into a tailspin regardless of who is elected. I do think there are some democratic principles that are going to be tested, but it's good for the system to get tested every once in a while. But I respect everybody. I respect their beliefs, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on these issues. But let's support the United States in the Olympics. Go America! Really excited about it. Always like to watch the opening ceremony and see these athletes who want to compete. The golfers who want to compete, who are professionals, and I think they're going to do something with baseball. Um, in the next Olympics 2028 so that they can more professional players like Bryce Harper and Trout and Aaron Judge can compete in the Olympics, and the baseball season will take like a 3-week hiatus during the summer. Um, so, with that said, I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks for the diversity that we have and the different views. Again, I don't mean to offend anybody. If I did, I apologize. But these need to be robust discussions, and the idea is for us to have polite discourse. So, with that said, thank you for listening. EB out. I'll see you next week.